are for work, nights are for play. Stewardess, may I have another scotch?
Welcome to episode 40 of the Columbo podcast, where we hope our listeners are ready for a double scotch.
If I've told you once, I've told you 100 times. It's Scottish. You can't call people Scotch.
You're
it's
so
racist.
fussy. You are so fussy, Ian. The big 4-0.
Yeah, life begins here, apparently. So hopefully we're going to get good sometime soon.
So, 40 is the new 30.
It's the new something.
Hope so.
You're nearly there yourself, so you'll be able to tell me.
A good few years yet. In fact, this is probably worth mentioning. I noticed that this episode is the first episode that was broadcast after I was born.
I think we have to wait till the revival for me.
Unfortunately, we do. Yeah. But there we have it. How are you?
I'm good.
Looking forward to this week's episode.
I am. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a fun episode. Yeah, some interesting performances and a fun little story.
Yeah. Lots of great one-liners, I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Intriguing and amusing lead. The killer.
It wasn't like a classic format, but it was a nice change. It was a nice sort of twist, and it was nicely done.
Yes, I think there was a change in pace, perhaps. The dynamic was different between... It was more light-hearted. It always felt quite light-hearted, even although we're talking about an old woman suffocating
the fact that it was an older woman, I think, changed the dynamic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not been many killers of that vintage.
No.
And I think it makes a difference into how the episode proceeds and how the story develops.
The age of the killer is worth noting in this episode and in next week's episode as well.
I'll look forward to that.
We'll cover that at the trivia.
So 14 next week.
As per usual, Ian, why don't you give us this week's summary?
In Try and Catch Me, famed author Abigail Mitchell avenges her niece's murder by trapping and leaving the killer, her niece's husband Edmund, to die. Witnesses are certain that Edmund was not at the scene of the crime between his earlier safe departure and the time Mitchell herself left to catch a flight. Lieutenant Columbo is once again thrown into the world of fictional murders with a real-life corpse to deal with. He quickly identifies his suspect, and when the victim sends a message from beyond the grave, he must choose whether to do his duty or turn the page and let a sympathetic killer go free.
Very nice, Ian. Do you think this is perhaps the real-life personification of a Mrs. Melville?
I think certainly I would guess the episode was written by somebody who enjoyed that episode.
Yeah. We start off in an office.
Yes.
The office of an elderly lady who we've mentioned.
Yes.
Her name is?
Abigail Mitchell.
And she is?
A famed author.
Very world famous. Agatha Christie, I suppose, is what they're going
Nobody
for.
does murder like Abigail Mitchell.
They don't. She's writing a letter at her desk. And we see her look with perhaps a touch of sorrow at a black and white photograph of a young woman.
Yes. We later find out that it is a photo of her niece.
Phyllis
Mitchell, maybe? Maybe she's been married. I think, in fact, she has been married, we know that.
We see a typewriter and it has a note in it which says Edmund 2:30.
It's a strange way of leaving yourself a note.
Yeah. Post-its were probably around back then, or certainly
She's
scraps
wasted
of
a
paper.
whole sheet of paper. If she just typed it up at the top of the paper, she could have torn that bit off.
Mm-hmm. Or she could have just written it down on a piece of paper. Scrap paper is all
maybe she
you
doesn't handwrite anymore, who knows?
Yeah. Much like us these days. She throws it away in anger.
Yeah, we hear a clock ticking in the background as well. There's sort of a presence of time.
Yes. She opens an electrified panel.
Yep, silently.
Yes.
As the credits begin to roll.
To reveal a safety vault.
Yeah, a big safe. She's opening it.
She turns off the alarm first and then opens it, and it's a walk-in big safe.
Yep, she walks in and kind of closes herself in. And then the camera goes out and she leaves.
Yeah. I thought the score in this episode was nice. It was very apt. There was a lot of tension created.
It wasn't what I would have said overplaying it.
No.
Not a lot of time, but certainly early in the show, we criticised this music a lot as being too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this episode it was fine.
Complemented it well.
Yeah.
She shuts herself into this safe for a moment before reappearing.
Yep, like I say, the camera moves outside. It's a
Yeah.
nice piece of direction, and she leaves towards the camera. There's a poster sitting there, and the camera kind of hesitates on it for a moment.
Yeah, so that we can understand who she is, and as you have already said...
Abigail Mitchell for the best in murder.
Yep. And it appears that she has had 32 successful books.
She's certainly had plenty.
She has. Christie, I think Poirot had 33 books.
Well, she's maybe still writing another one,
Yeah,
if she's the fictional version.
could have been, yeah.
Anyway, there's no reason for us to think of Agatha Christie connections, really, because the plot doesn't really follow anything Christie-like.
No.
She's playing a recorded message.
She has a tape recorder,
Yeah.
and she takes us into the vault with her.
Still playing.
And the purpose of this...
She's obviously trying to find out if someone's in the vault talking, can you hear them?
Yeah, so she puts the tape recorder in, she shuts it, and she can't hear the...
She can't hear it, but she's old, so she buzzes her assistant through.
Veronica.
And she comes in and hands over some papers.
Mm-hmm. Galleys. First drafts of manuscripts or books.
Yeah. And Abigail pretends that she can hear something
Mm-hmm.
to see if Veronica picks up on it
Yep.
now that she's looking for it. But no.
A nightingale, I think.
Well, she says it's a nightingale, but Veronica can't hear it.
No. That's a nice way of determining. I thought it was, fairly well worked out.
Mm-hmm. Although, you would imagine someone trapped might shout a bit louder.
Possibly, yeah.
Anyway, Veronica is asked to call Edmund to set up a walk the next day at 2:30, and we find out that Edmund is the widowed husband of her niece.
We do. Veronica leaves the room
But
and...
before she leaves, she says she does hear something, but I think she's just playing. She's just being nice.
Yes. But she says it's the bird
It's the nightingale, yeah.
that she can hear.
And after Veronica leaves, Abigail retrieves her recorder from the safe, and that's the end of our opening
It is.
sort of moment.
And we go to the beach for this meeting
Yeah.
between Abigail and Edmund.
Yeah, they're walking together on the beach, and she brings up her niece is drowning and the fact they never found the body.
Yeah. At first they appear to be on good terms. There's no obvious animosity.
No, and then she slips a little sinister line in there.
Gets very... sinister's a good word. She is a sinister creature. She is obviously quite devious. And
Well, certainly to write all those stories, she presumably has a sort of more than a thought of murder from time to time.
Sure. So, as you say, they talk of Phyllis, the niece, and we discover, that her body was never recovered from a boating accident.
Yeah.
And it's implied that she thinks that Edmund was to blame. Maybe, in fact, murder.
Did it roar the night Phyllis was drowned?
Abby, please don't.
I love my niece with all my heart, with all the love that I could ever give anyone. You loved her too, didn't you, Edmund?
She was my wife.
And you loved her?
Yes, I loved her.
Must have been terrible for you. Alone on a sailboat, coming up from the cabin, and Phyllis gone. Disappeared in the darkness. And we never had even the comfort of finding the body, of knowing she was safely buried.
Coast Guard tried.
And you tried. I know what you did. Everything you did.
Ominous.
Very, very ominous.
But she quickly changes tone.
Yes, she tells him that he is going to be the sole beneficiary of her will.
Yes, and her mind is made up. There's definitely an inference there that she thinks he killed the niece and she's now going to kill him in revenge.
Yeah, he should have been more worried than what he is.
I think he is happy to believe he's got away with it.
Yeah. He, being Edmund, was played by Charles Frank, who was born in 1947. He is most famous for roles in All My Children. He was also in Matlock, Murder, She Wrote, Falcon Crest, and Filthy Rich. TV
Decent
character actor, I think.
You've seen him in everything.
I have.
We move to Abigail's bedroom.
We do. We see her manipulate a light switch with a screwdriver
Yeah.
as a stopwatch ticks.
Yes.
So we see the lights flicker and then go out.
Yeah, she's setting up her master plan.
She is.
Or continuing to set up, we should probably say.
Sure. She tells Annie, the maid,
Yep.
that her bags are packed and that she's
Ready to go.
ready to go, yeah. So she's going on a trip with her attorney, her lawyer.
Yep.
Hammond, I think his name was. Or was it Martin Hammond?
Possibly.
Edmund is waiting and he is drinking brandy. Now, this is in the office.
Yeah, he's looking at the photo of his deceased wife.
And it's hard to tell from... does he sort of smile when he looks at it? Does he smirk?
I'm not sure. It's a strange one.
Yeah. The purpose of this meeting is that she is going to sign this new will in his presence.
Yep. But unbeknownst to him, he's also going to be signing a new will.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think we mentioned on during the beach scene, it is revealed that Abigail had left the rights to a highly successful 19-year...
Well, she didn't leave them, she gave them.
Yeah, she gave them, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
She gave them to her niece. It's a play in the vein, I'd imagine, of Mousetrap.
Yeah. Certainly it seems to have been profitable, but it's now closing after 19 years.
Yes.
And obviously Edmund's inherited those rights from his wife.
From his wife, his dead wife. And this is where they're going on this trip for the final night, the
That's
final
it.
performance in New York, I think it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He explains to her that he doesn't want to inherit anything from her.
Yes, but he doesn't put up that much fuss.
No, I think it's token resistance.
Of course it is. So as you rightly said, he discovers that he is also signing a will, which means that should he die before she does, then the rights to the play will revert back to her.
Yeah, and he doesn't know about this, but he's not overly shaken because I don't think he's got any awareness of any possibility of his predeceasing her. She's very old, and he's very young and vital.
She asks him to retrieve a jewellery box from an open vault, and he finds that the lights are not working in there.
It's a strange one. He goes in this safe a couple of times, and you're thinking, is she going to lock him in? She kind of goes over and stands by the door and puts her hand on the door. She doesn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then she's interrupted by the lawyer coming in.
Yes.
With these wills.
Yes.
And Edmund signs this without even reading it.
Yeah, I suppose, if you're given that... I mean, what does he have?
He's got the rights to the play.
Yeah.
And what does she, all the profits from it.
And what does she have?
Yeah, I think he's also probably thinking he can just change it again.
Yeah.
Because I think the law would be, you could, whatever your most recent will is, generally, in most jurisdictions, will supersede anything that came before.
Yeah. In the end, they both sign their respective documents and they both appear happy.
Yeah, and the lawyer leaves.
And Abby turns off the light.
Yeah, she's going to, at this point, or she tells Edmund that she's going to give him the safe combination.
Well, she does there's a couple of times she does one more thing.
Yeah, she does it to Columbo later.
Yeah. Yes, and she says that only 3 people have the combination to the vault. Her attorney, herself obviously, and Veronica.
Yeah.
She wants Edmund to have it. But she says that Martin, the attorney, would not be happy about this. So she's going to give it to him, but he's to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
And
while we're talking about one more things though, it occurs to me that Columbo's kind of stopped using them. It's been quite a while.
I can't actually remember the last time.
He did it. He didn't do it much at the start, and we commented on that. And then he started doing it more and more and more, and then it seems to have kind of trailed off.
Yeah, it certainly comes back.
Well, perhaps stereotypes or the things that he's known for are enhanced when they reboot. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
She is devising a plan. Edmund is to drive away, but he has to come back immediately via a service road. So she is making it look like he is leaving the house, the estate.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he thinks this is a good idea. Why does he think it needs to be a secret?
Well, there's a couple of things here. He has spotted the jewellery and there was a lot of cash in the safe.
Yes.
At this point, she showed him this for this purpose.
Yeah.
His inherent greed has taken over, so he's not thinking things through as analytically or as logically as perhaps he should.
Perhaps.
His eyes are glazing over with potential riches.
Yeah, so the fact that this is a strange suggestion doesn't resonate with him because he's already thinking about how he's going to get the stuff out of the safe when she leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next thing is Edmund does leave.
Yes.
And she's getting harassed by her lawyer to get in the car. They're going to the airport, they're going to miss the plane.
Yes.
But she won't go.
No, and how does she prevent them from going immediately and get the lawyer out of the way.
Well, you've already discussed it. It's when she was breaking her light switch.
Mm-hmm.
She now asks the lawyer to fix it, and he says, look, anything to get you out the door.
Yes. So he goes to the bedroom to mess around and try and repair the light switch.
Yeah, and she's got a stopwatch. I think she knows
How long
it's going to take him to get from the light switch to her once he's fixed it.
No, yes, but also it's not just that. It's how long it will take to fix it.
Is she timing that as well? I thought she put it on after he fixed it.
I think it was going as she was fixing and breaking. I think she was timing the whole thing.
Procedure. Okay.
Yeah.
She then heads to the side door to get Edmund.
Yes.
Lets him in, acts a little playfully.
There's some very sort of rousing, regal orchestral music as she lets him in via this sort of back door.
Yeah, it's a good score. I think it fits.
Yeah, it does. And they head back up to the office.
Yeah, Edmund crucially sets his keys down on the table.
Yes.
I'm not sure how crucial this is. I think this is a mistake by her.
What's a mistake?
Taking the keys. The problem is obviously that
He's left in the car.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So, but nobody's coming back in there.
No, it wasn't a mistake until they're left there and the lawyer comes back in and they're sitting down beside.
Yeah, so she hides him from the lawyer.
Yes.
But she also needs to hide him from Annie, who's going to come in at some point. But she could chuck them down the back of the sofa or on the sofa.
On the plane with her
And take them with her and dispose of them.
Dump them in the Hudson.
Yeah. So, any number of things. But even them being found in the room when he was dead wouldn't have been a bad thing, because he could easily have sat them down there, and as he did, before going into the safe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only... Yeah.
She's not going to pretend he's not there. He's found dead there.
She can't risk them being seen
too soon.
Just now.
Even him being rescued, I suppose.
Yes. She then explains to him about the alarm system.
Yeah.
It seems a fairly simplistic system, isn't it? You just turn it on and off. There's no combination.
It's just a switch.
A switch. Okay.
And then she
gets him to write down
the combination and gives him wills to put in the safe.
Yes.
And then, while he's in the safe,
she stands at the back, as he stands at the back, she shouts, what?
That she knows he murdered Phyllis.
Mm-hmm.
And then she locks him in.
Slams the door.
And can't decide whether to turn on the alarm or not.
No. And this is something that you probably have to think about a little bit. Did it confuse you?
I wasn't sure. I was fine at this point with her not turning it on, because I thought maybe him being in there would set the alarm off.
Yeah, it's clear that it's off. She leaves it off.
Definitely.
But Columbo
finds it on.
So at first you're thinking, well, is that a mistake? How did it get on? But it is actually explained.
Yes, it will be. We'll come to that. Mm-hmm. The lawyer comes in the room. She's obviously run out of time, and she spots the keys, so she grabs them on her way past.
She panics. So I think what we've said, it's fair enough. You think, look, the keys are there, and she has to hide them. But I think the mistake is, once she's got them in her pocket, just keep them there. Mm-hmm. It's only a set of keys.
But the lawyer didn't see them, so all she had to do is usher him out the room.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if Annie finds the key, she doesn't know the combination to the safe.
No, but...
So she couldn't save the guy.
No, but it's not about saving him. It's about if Annie's seen it. If Annie saw those keys, she would know that they were there before he's meant to have come back.
Well, it depends when she sees them. If she only sees them in the morning...
Yeah, but she's not going to risk her coming in to... Perhaps her job may be to check that the windows are shut, etc.
Maybe she give her the night off, like all the other folk do when their staff are in the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, she drops the keys in this sort of vase of sand as she leaves.
It's an ashtray.
Yeah. And then we see they didn't have the budget to do internal plane shots.
No, we've got a little bit of dubbing. We heard some of that at the top of the show. We see the cityscape, and it's effectively, she's going to go to New York and back in the same sort of scene here, isn't she?
Yeah.
So we hear a distraught Veronica explain that she has found the body the next morning.
And then we hear Abigail ordering another scotch.
Yep, and they'll be back. Before we leave this scene, the attorney, Martin Hammond, was played by G.D. Spradlin. He died in 2011, aged 90. He was in The Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now, Ed Wood. But he didn't start acting until he was in his 40s. So
some quite high profile things to be in.
Yeah, I mean, he had quite a career before he became an actor.
What did he do?
Okay, well, firstly, he made his fortune as an independent oil producer. He was a very rich man through oil. He was also the director of JFK's presidential campaign in Oklahoma in 1960.
What a man.
Mm-hmm. So, fingers in many pies, and then he thought, I'll do a bit of acting, and he got himself into The Godfather Part 2.
As you do.
Yeah, and Columbo. So,
yeah,
there we have an interesting,
the two highlights.
Interesting and varied career.
That's quite impressive and quite interesting.
So we're now back at Abby's house, and it's the crime scene. It's an exterior shot.
Well, the police are there, and this is something that always gets me in Columbo. She's shown through to the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Why? She doesn't need to be in the crime scene.
No.
She's contaminating it just by being there.
Yeah.
She could be touching things, or breathing on things, or dropping things, or anything. Why would they put her anywhere near the crime scene?
Yeah, that's true. These days you wouldn't do that.
No.
But for a TV show, I suppose they have to have everyone together.
I
But
suppose.
yeah, you're right. Although I suppose when you say contamination, I mean, she will be, her DNA, etc. It's her house.
Yeah.
Now, as she enters the house, she nervously notes 3 cigar stubs in the ashtray where the keys had been
Yeah,
left.
where she thought they were, yeah.
So this is the first time I think we see her getting a little bit sort of pensive.
Definitely.
And she goes up to the office.
She does, and she's addressed by a policeman, not Columbo, he's not there.
No, Sergeant Burke.
Yep.
And he confirms that the body is in the safe.
Yes.
And it opens.
Yes, I mean, it's a nice little moment because Columbo comes out of the safe and he's obviously been doing an experiment, as we often see him do, but this is when he's done off camera.
Yes. Now, remind me, during the trivia section, we'll discuss a little bit more of Columbo's appearances now. His entrances.
Okay.
Okay. So, what he's been doing in the safe is establishing that it is soundproof.
Yes.
And he then compliments Abigail and, of course, says he's a great fan. Him and his wife. They're always reading these books. Yeah. She calls him young man.
I've got that exact note. It's brilliant.
I've mentioned this before. Someone else called him young man.
Yes.
But, she quite rightly can call him young man.
Mm-hmm.
She was 81 when this was shot. And she is still to this day, or forevermore, the oldest Columbo killer.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
She does a good job.
Yeah, I mean, she was very vital.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, one other thing I noticed here was that she's one of the few killers that's shorter than Columbo.
Yes. Yeah, there wouldn't be many. Columbo's not as we know, is
below average.
Medium.
Anyway, they discuss the alarm system.
Yes, and they discuss the accident of her niece 4 months prior.
Yes.
And she feigns anguish at this new accident. But Columbo immediately does not think it was an accident.
Columbo's always outraged when anyone suggests a killing is an accident.
Yes.
This is your burglar alarm, ma'am. When your secretary came in this morning to open the safe, she found the alarm switch on, like this. Now the question is, how did your nephew get into the safe, all by himself, when the alarm was on the whole time?
I can't imagine. I'm so confused.
Oh, I can't really imagine you confused, Miss Mitchell. Not someone who can plan a murder like you. I mean, all your mysteries, man. But me, I don't mind admitting that I'm confused, and I am. Because we didn't just find your nephew's body in the safe.
Yeah, I don't think Columbo believes for a moment that she's confused, and in that he reveals that he suspects her, I think.
Yes.
And now we know it's going to be a one-on-one.
Cat and mouse.
But I think she's up for that.
Definitely.
In fact, I think she probably would welcome it.
She enjoys it. At her age, at her
Bit of excitement.
Time in life, yeah. I think she would. She's underestimating Columbo, obviously. She thinks she has a superior criminal mind, and she's quite happy to play along or play the game.
She might not even be underestimating him. She might not care whether she gets caught or not. She's avenged her niece, so her job's done.
There's another scene that we can discuss, but that relates to this. But the title of the episode is Try and Catch Me.
You sure?
It's not Catch Me If You Can, is it?
No, it's Try and Catch Me.
Good.
Try and Catch Me was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
It was a decent movie. But yeah, Try and Catch Me. So she's saying, here's some evidence, here's the clues, I know what you think. Let's see, let the best man win.
Yep. And she thinks she'll be the best man.
Yeah.
It seems that Edmund has left a few clues.
Yes, not only did they find the body, but they found her manuscript entitled The Night I Was Murdered. And it was pulled apart on the floor along with 6 used matches and what else?
There was 2 bits of torn paper that didn't really match up. There was also noticed it was also that his belt and his fingernails had black paint on them.
Yes.
Like they'd been scratching at something.
Mhm. And they noticed that the light did not work in the
Yes.
safe.
These are all critical pieces of information.
They are.
And to be honest, her plan is deeply flawed, knowing that she was leaving a man alive for a period of time, aware that he was being murdered, and with things at his disposal that he could make these sort of clues with. This is a man who's got away with murder, so he's not an idiot. He's clearly going to be able to fashion some form of message.
It would have been fine had she intended being the person who discovered him, because, as is discussed in the episode, he could not have been sure who would have opened the safe.
Yeah.
So, if she wanted to be sure, she should have found him. But then, she's creating the alibi, isn't she? So she can't find him.
Yeah.
That's the issue. We move down to the living room, and Columbo is delighted to be working with Abby.
I love this bit.
Why?
He explains that his wife is a huge fan, and that when a new book by Abigail comes out, she's always the very first in line at the library to order it. Not going to buy your book.
She's not contributing to her
Her
wealth.
fortune, no. Although I suppose libraries buy many copies on the basis of people like Mrs. Columbo who are prepared to go and then borrow them.
I'm sure they do.
Columbo likes the living room.
Yes, he tinkles on the piano,
It's a familiar tune.
which is,
Do do do
yeah,
do 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 do.
Chopsticks.
And there's another nice quote because he's talking about the way that her books are written. So clearly he has read them,
Yes.
although presumably just in the 24 hours since he was informed of this case.
Episode 1, Murder by the Book. What did he do? First thing was
Read all the books.
grabbed about 13 of them.
We know this is his strategy.
Yes.
But he says, I said to my wife, this is what I said, when that woman writes,
You sound like a...
she don't think like a murderer. She thinks like a policeman.
Yeah. For anyone outside of the UK, you're doing a very good impersonation of a sort of end of the pier 70s style comedian in inverted commas.
Yes. And she's pleased that this is a compliment, and she's got a theory.
Yeah. I mean, she's settled by that compliment.
Yes.
She does. She offers an explanation, which is...
It's an accident. He was hiding from the staff because he was there to steal and accidentally locked himself in, and it turned.
Yes, and this also answers the question about the alarm being on, because Abby confirms that she called Annie the maid and asked her to turn the alarm on. She had forgotten to do it. So, as you mentioned, that's the theory. Annie went up, caught him in the act of stealing,
Without realising she'd caught him in the act.
and he accidentally locks himself in the safe. Yeah, I think it's she's thought that through.
Yeah. They're interrupted by a sergeant. In the previous scene, Columbo had sent away to look for something specific.
Yep, we didn't hear what it was.
No, and now they've found it.
And he whispers, but it's not revealed
No.
what it is.
And she tries to retrieve the keys after Columbo leaves with the sergeant, but they're not there.
No, and she's quite anxious because she knows about the keys being potentially missing, and she can't hear what they're looking for, and you can see her getting agitated.
Definitely. And Veronica brings her a drink.
Yes.
At this point, Veronica has knowledge that she does not.
Correct. So we get out to the garden.
I like this.
Mm-hmm. Columbo and Burke are looking at a shoe print which appears to be Edmund's.
And despite it being 5 years since Columbo was told that plaster cast was not a suitable way to measure a footprint, he's still doing it.
Yep. He is very impressed with Edmund's loafers. And it's sort of suggested that he is thinking about stealing them for himself. Evidence in a murder case, but he's thinking, yeah, those would suit me.
Yeah, and Abigail arrives and says he can just have them. She's inherited them. She says he's there.
Yeah, but Columbo being a man of medium to average to small
Size.
stature, yeah,
the shoes are too big.
too big.
Columbo is concerned about the car keys being missing. He makes a point of that here.
Mm-hmm. But he also wants to know how Ed got into the house. Abby, see, this doesn't make sense. Abby says that he must have used the key under the plant pot.
Yeah.
But this doesn't make any sense, because the key is still there. So if he used the key, it should still be on him, because what you would do is you would use it, and then on the way back out, you'd replace it. You don't go up to a door, open the door, bring it back down, hold the door open, bring it back down, replace it. That's just not how you would do it.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, so I think
They don't really think it through.
No, perhaps it's not the script writers. Perhaps it's a deliberate
Could be.
mistake by the character, by Abby or Abigail. I keep calling her Abby. Is that
Also-
okay?
Yeah, I call her Abigail, but what do you think?
Abigail. I wouldn't say that to her face. I would call her Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Ms.
Ms.
Mitchell.
yeah.
Anyway, he then asks for a flower from the garden for Mrs. Columbo.
He's just taken them in the past, so I suppose this is an improvement.
What happens next?
They head back inside and she has a panicky moment because he is looking right at the tray where she thinks the keys are.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just stunting off his cigar.
Yes.
He's quite happy. And later on, she comes back to these.
It's the evening now, or night time.
Yeah. But the sand's been emptied out by the staff. She speaks to Annie about it.
Yes, the maid, Annie.
And she thinks, okay, well, maybe they've been binned. She's relieved.
She does a one more thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out that Veronica found keys and took them.
No, that...
Well, the keys were found when they emptied it out.
Abby found the keys.
No, Annie found the keys.
Sorry, yes, Annie found the keys and gave them to Veronica.
Yes.
Veronica claimed them to be her own.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Trouble now. Before we move on, Annie was played by none other than Mary Jackson. She died in 2005, aged 90. Certainly most famously known for playing Emily Baldwin in The Waltons for a number of episodes. She was also in Quincy, The Rockford Files, Barnaby Jones and The FBI. So another sort of character actress who had a long and busy career.
Yeah, worked a lot. There's an uneasy exchange coming.
Explain.
In Abigail's bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
Veronica's waiting,
Yes.
but she doesn't raise the issue of the keys.
No.
It's just kind of an awkward...
I think they both know.
They now both know. I mean, Veronica knew the last time they spoke, but this time Abigail also knows.
Yes, but neither party bring it up.
No, and we fast forward to a venue.
Yes. Well,
It reminded me a little bit of
yes.
Identity Crisis.
Yes, where
Vito Scotti was given a speech as
Yeah.
the Italian mayoral candidate. Something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Abigail is addressing it's a women's institute type
Yeah.
set up, and she's addressing the audience as a guest speaker, and she's discussing her writing. She talks about a duel that she tends to write between the killer and the cop. So that's quite a nice sort of nod.
Apropos,
Mm-hmm.
Columbo comes in.
And she puts him under some pressure
Well,
by...
before that, he's kind of lurking at the back,
Uh-huh.
and Veronica is there, and she pulls him over to her table.
Mhm.
At which point, Abigail spots him, and
decides to have some fun.
she's going to play a little game. We've seen on a few occasions Columbo invited to participate, and as the series has gone on, he's gained more and more confidence in this sort of situation.
The first one that springs to mind is the...
Suitable for framing?
No, Double Shock.
Double Shock, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. The Dexter Paris on
Yeah.
the TV show.
And he was not happy at all to be involved in that.
But and now you see him. His hand was up in the air.
Yeah, he was volunteering
He
for
was
that
desperate.
one.
So he is invited up to speak as a cop and address the audience.
Well, you
And-
get this really corny moment where he wags his finger.
Yeah. yeah, it's
But
it's corny but nice.
she introduces him as about to talk about hyper-modern chemical techniques.
She is having some fun. He starts off his speech, but then he, towards the end of it, it's more specifically directed, I think, at Abby.
I like my job. Oh, I like it a lot. And I'm not depressed by it. And I don't think the world is full of criminals and full of murderers because it isn't. It's full of nice people just like you. And if it wasn't for my job, I wouldn't be getting to meet you like this. And I'll tell you something else. Even with some of the murderers that I meet, I even like them too. Sometimes. Like them and even respect them. Not for what they did. Certainly not for that. But for that part of them which is intelligent or funny or just nice. Because there's niceness in everyone. A little bit anyhow. You can take a cop's word for it. Thank you, ladies.
And as he finished that little speech, he's looking directly at Abigail.
Yeah, and I think it's also something that we've seen before with Killers on Columbo, that he has respected them, or, you know, Corsini is a good example. He respected him. There were one or two others.
Barry Mayfield?
Even, well, Barry Mayfield, not so much.
No.
But even if you remember Mind Over Mayhem, he
Yeah.
was happy to share a cigar.
Yeah.
One or two others,
Milo Janis?
not so much.
Yeah, no, you're right. He does have, in many instances, an understanding or an empathy with their plight, I think. Or their
And
reason.
even with parts of their personality, like he says, that are completely separate from the murder, he might just like them as a person.
Yeah.
It's an unusual scene there, with the speech and the... And you think about what's the purpose of that scene. It's
Yeah.
really just to show, again, Columbo's onto her,
Yeah,
and that
no,
she's playing a game.
I'm glad you're picking up on some of this sort of maybe a slight change in the format. There are slight differences here, and we'll talk about that in the trivia section. But we go outside, and he asks Abigail for permission to view Edmund's apartment.
Yes.
And she says, yep, okay.
Uh-huh.
And he,
He offers to give her a lift.
in his car, and
She's not happy about that.
let's be clear, she's got a convertible Rolls Royce
Yes.
outside. And as he asks, she's about to get into that, and he looks across, he points, indicates his vehicle.
It's French.
Yes. Very rare. And what does she say?
I can't remember
I
exactly.
think she says something like, I can see why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says, no, we'll take my car. And then he asks for a favour.
Yeah, he asks if he can drive it.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable.
It's far less awkward than the last time we got in a car with somebody else.
Do not go there. So the two of them get in the Rolls Royce, and then we've got a bit of sort of poor rear projection. They're not actually driving.
Green screen.
Yeah.
I did wonder at this point how Columbo was going to get back to his car when they were finished. Is he going to ask this killer to drop him off?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
He could drop himself off. He'll drive back. He'll enjoy the journey.
Really? After he's poked and prodded at her?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, they go to the apartment,
They do.
and it seemed to me like she was taunting Columbo
Yeah.
in this scene.
There are a number of scenes, a number of instances in the episode where she is having a little laugh and a joke and prodding, because I think she is still. This indicates her underestimation of what, not only of what he's capable of, but how far he will take it. So she tries to copy him a little bit. She mimics as well,
Yeah.
and she is sarcastic.
But he's also serious in this scene.
Yeah, because I think he's got to try and balance out this jovial act. If he normally
It's not a game for him.
no.
And it'd be easy for him to let it become a game.
Okay, so here's how I see it. Yeah, I think you're right. Normally, he is providing the levity. He's been distracting. He's talking about all these other things. He's trying to put a serious killer who is trying their damnedest to remain, stoic, and he is trying to balance, to unbalance him by being unorthodox. But in this case, she is playing that role.
Yeah.
So
Role reversal.
So he can't. If he starts messing around as well, we've got two people being very unprofessional, and his tactic would not work.
It's like in the movie Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's what I was going to say. It's exactly like that movie.
I think they actually swap bodies in that one. It's not
They
quite the
did,
same.
yeah. It's a 70s remake with Jodie Foster was in the original.
Yeah, I was just mentioning Jamie Lee Curtis because of the Columbo connection.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, yeah, so you're right, but he's trying to be a bit more serious, and she's being sarcastic.
Talking about her cruise.
Yeah.
And then he puts his foot down. The foot is down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She says, I'm going on a long, not just a short cruise, many months, I think. She's going to write her new novel on, she's using that as her mobile office.
Essentially. I would have thought it'd be a great way to write a book on a boat. You've been thrown up every 2 chapters.
I think once you settle down, I think you're okay.
You like to write in a choppy sea?
I don't think it'll be that choppy. I'm sure you can. Plenty of people take cruises. I've not been in one myself. Yeah, I've not been in one myself, and it doesn't really appeal. It would have to be at the sort of highest end. This sort of the middle of the road cruise
The problem I
doesn't
have
do it
with
for
a
me.
cruise is, if something goes wrong, you are in big trouble. Whereas, if you're in a city and something goes wrong, chances are it can get fixed, it costs you a bit of money, or, you have to change hotel. But if you're on a cruise and something goes wrong, you could end up in a lifeboat or in the water, and I don't really fancy that.
I don't fancy that, but in fairness, if you're on a cruise and it goes wrong, if something drastically goes wrong, but
If you hit an iceberg,
you're
or if your captain wants to sail close to the coast to wave at people and crashes your boat.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Both obviously real life examples.
Right, well, we're off on tangents here. Let's get back on track, Ian.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Columbo puts his foot down and says she can't go on the cruise. He needs her to be local and convenient for him.
Yeah, and another important thing that is mentioned here, Columbo discovers. This is the whole reason he's here.
Well, this is why he's here, and this is what he has found out, and he challenges Abigail. Did you not notice? Did you not see it?
Contrary to what she has told him about the relationship between Edmund and Phyllis.
There are no photos of the dead wife.
No.
Just months after her death.
This is an odd scene because he categorically states that she is wrong and that it was definitely not a happy marriage because there are no photographs of his late wife.
It's a leap, because what if he just couldn't bear to see her?
Massive leap. We've discussed before, people deal with death and grief in different ways. And for some people, if you have a death in the family, they may leave the room untouched. Their clothes will still be hanging in the cupboard. All their bits yes, it becomes a bit of a shrine. You can't touch anything. Everything remains the same. Other people, I think, will immediately cannot face the daily reminders of their lost loved one, and they will immediately get rid of the clothes, anything that reminds them of her.
And other folk are somewhere in between.
Other folk are somewhere in between. Now, I would suggest that having no pictures is unusual, but I don't think it's a certainty that they didn't. I don't think you can say for sure that definitely means they had a bad relationship. I think that's a massive leap.
I suspect Columbo is just using it as an illustration. I suspect he's perhaps even already been to the apartment and knows the situation.
From the apartment, we arrive back at Abigail's house, her garden.
Yeah, and Veronica approaches her and says that Columbo's back.
She's telling him that Columbo is looking for something. Keys.
Yes, and then shows her the keys and gives her the keys. Mm-hmm. And there's then an exchange.
I thought you should know that Lieutenant Columbo's back again.
Is he?
Mm-hmm, in the library.
Whatever does he expect to find there?
These? Edmund's car keys. I knew the police were looking for them. So were you, Abby. In the sand.
Very thoughtful of you, dear. Please, you'll have this one, too.
Oh, yes, it's lovely. Abby, I've been meaning to speak to you about my salary. After all, we've been together nearly 4 years.
I thought more like a bonus, perhaps a long trip. You've never been to Europe.
Oh, but I wouldn't want to be away from you for too long. Besides, it might end up like one of your plots. I mean, by the time I get back, the police might even somehow suspect me of murdering Edmund.
Yes, I understand.
I think it's an accord being reached here.
Yes. And I am always reminded, I always think back to a certain Miss Lysanka. I feel slightly uncomfortable.
When you do a deal with a killer,
yeah,
you're asking for trouble.
You're asking for it. There's been a few over the episodes, and it rarely ends well.
No.
You're certainly putting yourself in a position where you know that someone is capable and willing of murder, and yet you're poking at them.
Yeah.
I suspect she thinks that she's safe because Abigail killed for that one particular reason, but it's never established, is it? If Abigail... It can't have been, in fact. Abigail could not have broached this with Veronica that she thinks that Edmund's a killer, so she can't fall back. She can't have used that as the excuse to feel comfortable in blackmailing.
I suspect Veronica maybe thinks it's to do with the wills. She just wanted the rights for her play or something.
Mm-hmm. Did you recognise Veronica?
No.
No.
No, should I have?
Yes, we met her before.
In what show?
We met her in Publisher Perish. She was Eileen McRae.
Oh, of course, in the restaurant.
Yes, played by Mariette Hartley.
Okay, so we've heard all about her.
She was a publisher. From the garden, we go to the office again.
Well, Columbo's inside at this point, and he's sitting smoking his cigar in a darkened room, looking into the safe.
Very atmospheric.
Mm.
I like these scenes where you see, we've discussed it last week. No, 2 weeks ago. An old-fashioned murder.
Yeah.
Where he ponders.
Yes, he spent time thinking. He's doing it again here.
He enters the vault and he notices markings on some metal trays.
It looks like an arrow to me.
Mm-hmm. The attorney, Hammond, arrives.
Yeah, there's sort of veiled threats thrown around about letting Abigail go on her cruise.
Yes, he's at first tries to sort of put the foot down and say she will be going, but Columbo says, no, I can't permit that. And then he asks Columbo why, but Columbo can't give any real reason as to why.
He's not arresting her, he's not holding her as a material witness, so he's not got any reason to hold her, so the lawyer thinks his job is done here.
But then he asks Hammond about the 2 pieces of paper that he found.
Yes, does he think they match?
Hammond looks at them.
Confirms they definitely do not match.
Nope. But he says that it looks like there is a third piece missing, so that they are part of the same document, but with
a bit missing
from the middle. We then go to
another unusual scene.
Yeah, a dance class.
It reminded me a little bit of Forgotten Lady.
Yeah, we've seen Columbo in a few of these scenarios, haven't we? Where there are
at least it was adults in this one.
She's having Veronica is having a belly dancing.
I didn't even notice her at first.
No, we didn't see her at first.
Yeah, she's just part of the class, and you don't pick her out.
No, Columbo enters with a smile, and he stares at them for a while.
Through the window,
if a guy in a Mac walked into a dance studio, the instructor and the rest would probably stop and say, "Sorry, can I help you? Why are you here?"
The note I've got says he was entranced.
That's been
talking about a guy in a Mac. I actually saw a guy in the street today wearing a Columbo Mac, but it was about 3 sizes too big, and he had buttoned it all up right up to his neck. It was really weird.
Did he then get placed in the back of a police van?
I moved quickly away.
Was he wearing?
It was sunny.
Was
it was the weirdest thing.
Did you notice if he had trousers on?
I couldn't see. It was so big. It was down to his ankles.
That's suspicious. Yeah. Was his hands in his pockets?
Yes.
Oh. Now we'll move on.
Yes, Columbo wants to borrow Veronica from the class. This is the note I've made here is WTF.
Why?
Because what on earth is going on here? Why did she have to be in a belly dancing class? We've come across her
no reason,
all sorts of ways, all sorts of places.
Yeah, I think the producers are just trying to.
She could easily have been at the house. This could have been done at the house or in the garden or anywhere.
They must have thought,
I know what we'll do.
Yeah, we'll get you, Mariette. Do you fancy get yourself into that belly dancing costume? Why is it?
It's for the plot.
For the plot, yes, it's vital.
For goodness sake.
It's vital. Okay then.
Character development. I think it's also partly to show her growing confidence.
Yes.
Or to demonstrate the character progressing. It's not obviously a new thing for her, but from a viewer's perspective, we're seeing her being a more confident person in the play.
We find out that she is going on the cruise.
Yes, which surprises Columbo because when he heard her asked to buy the tickets, we didn't mention this, but outside the hall where the speech was given, it was clearly just tickets for Abigail that she was to organise.
Yes. What else Columbo learns in this scene is that
it's hard to get out of a circle of women belly dancing around you.
Possibly.
Without touching one of them.
Definitely. Veronica tells him that she was told to put the manuscript in the safe by Abigail the night before.
Yes.
Hence why she discovered the body in the morning.
Yeah.
So to be clear here, she was told by Abigail the night before.
That in the morning she was to put
yes.
them in. Yes. And like I say, Columbo then gets stuck in the middle of this circle as he's trying to make his way out. And we to the beach, the pier.
A pier, yeah.
Where Columbo...
Conveniently.
This is one that we complained about before, where Columbo's conveniently at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, this is a bit lazy. Are we to assume that he's following her?
I'm not sure, but the weirdest thing for me is that Dog has completely changed his appearance.
Yeah?
He's a completely different dog.
What type of dog is he now?
It's the same type of dog, but he's different markings.
Oh.
He's much browner, he was more white before.
Very, very perceptive.
He's got a different face.
You look at Dog. Why are you looking at Dog's face?
I look at all the characters' faces.
You didn't recognise Mariette Hartley there.
You can't just change the actor that's playing a major character.
Hold on. We've seen Mariette Hartley, an actress, in an episode of Columbo before. We've discussed her. We've talked about her background. We've seen her in many scenes, right? And yet, in this episode, you didn't recognise her. But wait a second, Doc has changed. And how did you notice that? But not
there's
an
there's
actress?
a subtle but important difference between an actor playing a different character and a character being played by a different actor.
You recognise dogs' faces better.
I am convinced that this is a different dog. If someone can prove me wrong, please do, but I'm convinced this is a different dog.
Ian, I am not arguing the point. I'm just amused that that was what you didn't recognise an actress, but you recognised a change in dog.
Well,
okay, that's perfectly fine.
Anyway, it's apparent that Abigail's about to try and throw the keys in the sea, but when Columbo appears, she does not do it.
No, and this is a very odd scene because obviously her intention is to get rid of these keys.
Yeah, and she completely changes that intention.
Yes.
But I think she's aware that Columbo saw her with the keys.
Mm-hmm. Before we'll talk about Dog again. Apparently the ocean makes Dog frisky, and Columbo says that he can tell. Not sure how he can tell if Dog's frisky. I could guess, but I won't.
He maybe just starts breathing heavier.
Yeah. They then go on to discuss Phyllis's disappearance, and we have a very nice exchange.
I've been watching the sailboat.
Oh, beautiful thing.
Not to me. It's like the one Phyllis was drowned on.
I looked into that, man. She disappeared from the boat. But the police, they don't know for a fact that she died of drowning.
I didn't know the police took all that interest. It was so officially closed.
Well, there was nothing else they could do, man.
No. Nope, nothing else.
That must have been very hard losing someone you love like that. I've been very lucky. I lost my parents. That's the way of the world. But to lose someone that young, that's like being cheated. That's very hard.
I'm beginning to be very fond of you, Lieutenant. I think you're a very kind man.
Don't count on that, Miss Mitchell. Don't count on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that he is sympathetic, but he has a job to do. He still looks for the keys.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that exchange.
It was brilliant. It's probably the highlight of the episode, I would say.
I think so. Now, Columbo says that he still thinks that Edmund was murdered, and that when he finds the keys, he will find the killer. And Abigail asks him if he is sure. Columbo says yes.
I think he already has seen them in her hand.
That can be the only reason, I think, for what she does next.
She just hands them over, says she found them at the back of the house.
Very audacious.
Yeah.
This is the scene I was referring to earlier. She's basically saying, here you go, try and catch me. You think that the keys prove the killer? There you go, do your best.
So
bold.
Bold as brass. They head back to her house and she shows Columbo where she found them. And
Yes.
this is a good bit. We talked about role reversal.
Uh-huh.
He goes to leave, but she has one more thing.
Which is?
She wants to know if he's dropping the murder case and accepting it's an accident.
And Columbo knowingly tells her that the ship has not yet sailed.
Ship hasn't sailed yet, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're on the ship.
Yeah. But just go back to the garden scene. Columbo says that the finding of the keys explains it, but they're talking at cross purposes.
Yes.
Because she then asks him, are you dropping the case? But he doesn't mean it explains.
It explains how it was an
It
accident.
explains that he now knows that you've planted
Yeah, she
this.
definitely did it, yeah.
And as you say, we head off to the ship.
Veronica and Abigail are there, but there's other folk. It's this old thing, you don't get it anymore. You used to get it on planes and trains where guests would come on with the folk who were travelling and spend the last few minutes with them, and then someone would say, if you're not travelling, get off.
And they wondered why you get stowaways.
And terrorists, probably, but you don't get that sort of thing anymore.
And we see some stock footage again of people waving and all that sort of stuff. That's obviously not filmed for Columbo.
I wouldn't have thought so.
So we're in the Abigail's cabin.
Yeah, the lawyer's there, and they have a chat, and they talk about her big success to come.
Yeah.
Then he leaves, Veronica has a wee speech, and she leaves, and then Columbo arrives as Veronica's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And just by chance, has a photograph with him.
Yes.
Of exactly the area where the keys were found.
True. Did you notice, however, the little interaction between Abigail and the attorney? Because he says to her, if you ever find a body in your safe
Call
me. So I think he
knows. He's affectionate towards her.
No, I think he knows.
Yeah, but I think he also wants to protect her. They also think they've got away with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Or that she's got away with it.
Yeah. But Columbo, as you say, does have a photograph of the
Very
with the
convenient,
key.
Isn't it?
Well,
also the blown up with the high resolution, you could probably do that now, but I don't think that was possible then with the resolution of photographs that you would have had from the wider shot. They wouldn't have been able to pull up that detailed zoom.
But not only does he have a photograph, he's got a warrant to and to force her to
Well,
come
I think
back.
he's got the warrant to stop the ship if required. I think that's what it was. He was going to
Yeah.
take it to the captain.
Yeah. And there's a reference to troubled waters.
There is.
On-
There is. He says he and his wife have tried cruising
Yeah.
on a cruise ship, should be clear.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs her to disembark, and not wanting to ruin everybody else's cruise, and knowing the game's pretty much up, she agrees.
Yeah, just to be clear, what happened? The picture showed that the keys were not there when the picture was taken.
Yes.
Now,
You don't think that proves what Columbo thinks it proves?
no, I don't. I think this is weak. I think that if Abigail was in sound mind, or if Abigail thought about it a little bit more, she could easily claim that perhaps an animal had moved it to that position. So, you might have a fox or a dog or whatever you get that part of California, a badger or raccoons, I don't know what you have over there, but some sort of animal may have moved it and then dropped it off there later.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly... I think in court that would be
Yeah,
fine.
I've got a theory it could be bunnies.
Bunnies, yeah.
Because bunnies, they're not just cute like everyone supposes.
Oh, no, they're
They've got
evil.
these flapping ears and twitching little noses.
Oh,
And
no.
what about the carrots? What do they need good eyesight for?
Exactly. Messing about with
must be bunnies.
evidence.
So
Yeah.
that's also an extended Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference. So move on.
Okay.
Uh,
Back to the office.
they're back at the office, and Columbo is there with Abigail.
Yes. Now, he explains to her that he thinks that a victim, if it was him, that they would want to leave some sort of message revealing the identity of the killer. But they would not have known who would have discovered the body.
So you need to be subtle.
It would need to be, yes, a concealed clue.
They go through the facts. The alarm was off. Safe was open. There were papers laid out. There's and he goes to the torn up paper.
Yeah.
And he shows to Abigail the missing piece. There must be a third piece.
Yes. And then Columbo starts to remove these metal boxes that had scratches on them.
This is a bit protracted for me and silly.
Yeah, it's a little bit padded.
We already saw it was an arrow. Like
they
4
spend
scenes ago.
Yeah, they spend a few moments trying to rearrange these things, these boxes, to make some sort of sign. And eventually, what they discover is it's an arrow which
Pointing
points
at the light bulb.
Yes, points at the light bulb.
But anyway, the missing paper is in there. It's been folded up very small and screwed underneath the light bulb. Which
Yes,
I'm not
and-
even sure that's possible. But okay.
No, I don't know. And it's the manuscript title, "The Night I Was Murdered by Abigail Mitchell." But
They've used the burnt out match to rub off the first 2 words.
yes, so it now reads, "I was murdered by Abigail Mitchell," and it's a deathbed testimony.
Which Columbo says is very strong evidence, and which I would question.
Yeah, I think it is. I think in the eyes of the law, certainly in America, that
It's very convenient. You didn't have a lot of choices of what to say from that collection of words.
True. Yeah, I'm not saying that a deathbed testimony is weak. I'm saying that how this was left, the actual testimony itself, yeah, I agree with you, might be easily torn to pieces.
Yes,
by
literally. I think they could also have foreshadowed this a little bit better by pointing out that maybe like 5 of the matches had their heads on them and 1 didn't, or
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that, yeah.
Would have been maybe quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, maybe 2 didn't because he scored out 2 words, or
Yeah.
something, that sort of thing. Anyway, I don't think it's proof of anything, but Columbo's convinced, or at least he's convinced enough to persuade Abigail.
Yes.
I think we might have a clip.
I understand why you did it, Miss Mitchell.
Veronica will spit when she hears. I don't suppose you would consider making an exception in my case. An old woman, quite harmless all in all. Under the circumstances, your kindness.
I thank you for the compliment. But you're a very professional person in your work, and so am I.
Very professional indeed. Just think, Lieutenant, if you had investigated my niece's death, all this need never have happened.
Two observations.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, perfect music
Yes.
for that scene. Secondly, bookending the episode, the clock ticking,
Yes.
that her time's running out.
That's, yeah, well spotted. That's nice.
We mentioned that at the start, and it's here again at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so much stuff like that I enjoyed about this episode. Gotcha's rubbish, but there was so much that I really enjoyed.
Yes, that's spot on. Just before we sort of sum that up, the sort of feelings on the episode, we didn't really mention during the pier scene the bitterness that I think Abigail felt towards the cops. I think she mentioned it there, that she felt that they did not do their job in
she wishes Columbo had investigated that.
Yes, and then Edmund would have been found guilty. So she's effectively saying, I have had to do
your work for you.
Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have done this. But you're right. I mean, it's lovely little bit of music at the end there, and you're right. The ending was a little bit weak, but I think that just like all great Columbo episodes, what you've got here is the interaction, the dynamic between Columbo and Killer. And this is slightly different, but I think that certainly makes up for the weak Gotcha.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, the one thing that you would regret about this is that the clear villain of the piece not only got away with murdering his wife, he also managed to implicate Abigail successfully.
Yeah.
So essentially twice now he's come out okay, although dead.
Yeah, about as okay as you can be if you are murdered.
In those two separate circumstances, yeah.
So we're very impressed and very happy with the performance of Ruth Gordon, who played Abigail Mitchell, yeah?
Very.
Do you know much about her? Did you recognise her? Or?
She has one of those sort of familiar faces, but I couldn't place it on anything particular.
I think the fact that in 1977 she was 81, that in itself highlights the fact that she was from a bygone era, so perhaps not as well known to us or familiar.
But there's been plenty of folk in Columbo that were famous a long time previous.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Milan's a good example.
Sure. I mean, she is famous and she's well known. I mean, she died in 1985, aged 88. So she lived for another 7 years or so after this. She was in Rosemary's Baby, Harold and Maude, Taxi, Adam's Rib. She had 5 Oscar nominations and she won for her role in Rosemary's Baby.
It's a very famous film, isn't it? I've not seen it myself, but I've heard of it.
She had 3 Golden Globe nominations and she won for Harold and Maude. She had 4 Emmy nominations and she won for her role in Taxi.
She didn't win for Columbo?
No. And she was Tony nominated in 1956.
All-rounder.
Very much so.
And a very impressive villain.
She was. She was a pleasure to watch. She was enjoyable.
It was fun. The episode was fun to watch. It zoomed by. It was just fun. It was good.
Yes. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The writer this week was Jean Thompson.
So she has maybe just come to this fresh and it's just a name she liked.
Jean with a G.
Oh, Jean as in Eugene?
Yes. As in Gene Roddenberry. What's his name?
Roddenberry, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Geno Smith.
Okay.
An obscure Jets reference.
Yeah. He died in 2001, aged 76.
Okay.
He was an uncredited writer on Ransom for a Dead Man.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot plot-wise similar, but you can see some of the stylistic things maybe.
He also wrote for Quincy, Barretta, Cannon, and The Addams Family, the TV show.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of trivia then, or we'll go through the production information first.
Okay.
21st of November 1977 at 73 minutes in length. James Frawley was the director. He was born in 1936, and this is his first of 6 Columbo episodes.
Well, he can't be getting all them in the original run.
No. He also directed the Muppet movie from the 70s.
Right, not the new one?
No. The Monkees, for which he won an Emmy. Grey's Anatomy, Chicago Hope, Law and Order, Magnum, the new Mike Hammer, and some Father Dowling episodes as well.
There you go, it's a eclectic mix.
Mm-hmm. Trivia. Mentioned before, Ruth Gordon holds the record at 81 as the oldest Columbo murderer. And it won't be beat.
Well,
Can't be.
Well, unless they have a revival. There's been some talk about Mr. Ruffalo getting involved with some very well-known director-producer folks.
I would be happy enough to see what they have to offer.
Certainly would consider putting it on the podcast if it was good.
Yeah, if they run it by us first, we'll tell them what we think and if it's going to get our blessing.
Certainly if they want to gauge the Columbo audience, they know who to ask.
Yeah. We've discussed before sort of episode lengths, or season lengths in terms of episodes.
They're not very consistent.
No, and they get less and less consistent.
They're not even really seasons after a point.
Season 7 was 5 specials.
So they're spread out over a longer period.
Yeah, so it wasn't a regular season. It wasn't every week or every second week.
But even season 6 there that we just had, the last episode was 6 months after the second episode.
Yeah. Produced by Richard Allen Simmons, and he wanted to shake up the show and refocus it on character and relationships. I think we saw that in this episode.
Yeah, but I don't think the previous season did badly with that.
No.
But prior to that there was a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's essentially what he's saying is he doesn't want Patrick McGowan involved.
Yeah, that would be brilliant.
No offence to the fans of McGowan, he's a great actor, does
Brilliant.
a good job,
Yeah,
but
I'd like to see him on
clearly
screen.
there are connections between his involvement and the ones that certain people do not enjoy.
Yeah. And Simmons had 3 sort of main aspects or main things that he wanted to achieve with Columbo.
And they were?
He wanted a slightly more theatrical entrance, not so bumbling.
Interesting.
We saw that today.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Could have done with a smoke machine, that would be even
Yeah.
more exciting.
He wanted more insight into the murderer's story. And again, we saw that today.
Definitely.
A bit of backstory and
We've seen that in a lot of the best episodes, and I think we've commented on that before as well.
and he wanted greater detail into Columbo's background.
See, that's the kind of planning that I think should have always been getting done.
Mm.
I think maybe sometimes they maybe just slipped into this, and we've got these tropes,
Yeah.
and we'll build a story around this.
Yep. Well, Simmons, that was his 3 objectives, and I think that
Those are what I would call laudable goals,
admirable.
and I hope he is successful.
And in terms of the Columbo background, we saw that too in today's episode with Columbo revealing that both his parents are dead.
Yes.
Yep. So a little bit more building a picture. a
Well,
little bit
we'd
more.
never know if he's telling the truth.
No.
It could have been for
I think in this case,
certain purposes.
I think in this instance, yes,
It was
telling the truth.
believable.
Yes. Do you want to move on to the episode review?
Well, just before we do, I think we should note we're now at the start of the final season of the original run, and
Yeah.
episode 40 has been a bit of a trek.
It's a milestone.
Way back episode 1, it was only Grant Fieldgrove talking about it on Twitter and nobody else getting involved until we got a couple of episodes out there. It's been a bit of a journey, and we've now got an audience that we really enjoy engaging with. So we should probably say thank you to those folk and encourage them to go and leave a review on iTunes if they've forgotten so far.
And continue their interaction. We
Please
love
do.
it.
We love all interaction, whether you agree with us or not, because you don't have to agree with what we say on the show. It's all about opinions, and we love it when you don't agree with us as well as when you do. So jump on the forums and tell us what you think, and we're happy to chat about it.
Yeah.
And we've got an episode review to go.
We do. Motive.
Revenge, justice, perhaps you could say if you're being sympathetic.
Yeah. So, strong.
Absolutely.
Clues. Do the usual. The alarm being on. The light bulb being broke. The black paint being found. The torn paper. The car keys. Scratches on the boxes. Veronica's addition to the trip. And generally, Phyllis's mysterious death.
The matchsticks, did you mention matchsticks?
I didn't mention them though.
They were quite important.
Mm-hmm.
Also the lack of Phyllis photographs at the killer's home, or her killer's home.
Yeah.
The victim's home, I suppose we should say here.
Yeah.
Does this guy get the award for least sympathetic victim?
He's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've had some bad blackmailers and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But he was particularly loathsome.
That is, of course, if we do believe Abigail. And it was never. It was
strongly suggested.
strongly suggested, but she might just.
I mean,
no one else.
even from Columbo's sympathy, having read the case file,
Yeah, fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
think it's strongly inferred.
No, I mean, I would accept.
Implied even.
Yeah.
It's not just inferred.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Gotcha.
I didn't like
The-
the gotcha.
Yeah, the arrow pointing up to the note, which was apparently a deathbed testimony.
I don't even see how the bulb would catch the thread if that paper was in there.
Yeah, but let's leave that. Let's leave the sort of logistics off it aside. The actual note being found, okay?
And what does it prove?
I mean, it says I was killed by.
At the very most, even if you take it on face value, he believes he was murdered by Abigail.
Yeah.
But that could be for a very convoluted reason, like she rigged the safe to do this to me,
Yeah.
or it's not
yeah,
evidence of anything.
I think it would be in court. It wouldn't be hugely strong.
No.
Okay.
She could just say, "I put that up there
Yeah.
months ago."
Yeah. There's lots of things. We'll come back to this towards the end of the or at the
Yeah,
last.
we've got a decent length season
Two.
of 5 episodes before we need to come back and review it again. It's not like last week when we had the immediate season review.
Next week we have Murder Under Glass.
This is Louis Jordan, who died last year
Yeah.
or earlier this year.
We've had a few deaths since you have become aware of
Yeah,
Columbo.
but I think a few folk have talked about they liked him as a killer, so I'm looking forward to watching it.
Any idea what Murder Under Glass is about?
I am going to assume it's someone who is killed underneath a glass table.
Okay.
Or perhaps under a microscope, someone really small.
Could be.
Or in a greenhouse. We've had that.
Maybe they're hitting the head with a glass.
Yeah. There's lots of different reasons or different explanations. I'm looking forward to finding out.
Good. I think that's us for this week, Ian.
Absolutely. We'll see everyone next week.
We will. Bye-bye.
Cheerio.
You have been listening to the Columbo podcast from Heard Yet Media.